Okay, so, owning property, right? Being a landlord. It sounds pretty straightforward on paper, but sometimes things can go sideways.
Yeah, for sure.
You got tenants, you got rent. Sometimes it all goes smoothly, but...
Not always.
Right. And especially here in sunny Southern California, where, let's face it, the laws are a bit of a maze sometimes.
Oh, definitely. It can get complicated.
For this deep dive, we're going deep on the unlawful detainer eviction process. We found this podcast from the Martinez Law Center. They're a firm that specializes in evictions. They actually boast a 98% success rate, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, 98%. That's really something.
Yeah, so we thought they were the perfect people to learn from.
Seems like they know what they're doing.
So picture this. You're a landlord, and you have a tenant who's behind on rent, maybe even months behind. What do you do? What are your options?
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
It's not just about getting them out. It's about doing it legally. Right?
Exactly. You got to follow the process.
And what we learned from the Martinez Law Center is that even a tiny mistake in the paperwork can totally mess up your case.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, one little error and bam.
You have to start over. Weeks or even months of lost rent. No landlord wants to deal with that.
Definitely not. So let's break this down, shall we? What exactly is this unlawful detainer thing?
Yeah, that sounds kind of scary, like something out of a legal thriller.
Well, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. It's basically the official legal term for an eviction.
So when a tenant overstays their welcome, so to speak.
Right, when they stay on the property after their legal right to be there has ended.
They become a holdover tenant, is that right?
Exactly, that's the term. They're holding over. And to get them out, you have to go through this unlawful detainer process.
Okay, so let's say you're a landlord in this situation. What's step one?
First things first, you got to serve the tenant with the correct notice.
There's more than one type of notice.
There are a few, actually. 3 main types. You've got the 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. Pretty self-explanatory, right?
Pay up or get out. Yeah, I get it.
Then there's the 3-day notice to perform covenants or quits.
Covenants. What does that mean exactly?
Those are the specific terms and rules laid out in the lease agreement, like no pets allowed, quiet hours, things like that.
Okay, so if the tenant is breaking those rules, you hit them with this notice.
Exactly. It gives them a chance to fix the issue. Like if they have an unauthorized pet, they got to remove it or face eviction.
Makes sense. And what's the third type of notice?
That's the 30 or 60-day notice. It's for terminating the tenancy altogether, no matter the reason.
Ah, so you're basically saying time to move on, regardless of whether they've paid rent or not.
Right. That's usually used when the lease term is ending, or maybe you've decided to sell the property.
But these notices, they're not just like a casual note you slip under the door, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not. They got to be done by the book. Super precise.
Yeah, the lawyers in the podcast really stress that.
Yeah. Any mistake, even a small one, can invalidate the whole thing.
Like a wrong date or an address that's not quite right.
Yep. The tenant can challenge it, and you have to start the process over. Huge waste of time and money.
Especially the money part. Every day that goes by is lost rent.
Exactly. Time is literally money in this situation.
That reminds me of the case study they shared. It really highlights this whole time is money thing.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that one.
It was this landlord in Orange County. Their tenant was 6 months behind on rent.
Oof, 6 months. That's brutal.
I know, right? Total nightmare. But they hired Martinez Law Center. And guess what? They got the tenant evicted in just 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Wow, that's fast, especially with how backed up the courts are here.
That's what I thought. I mean, Southern California courts are notorious for delays.
So 6 weeks is impressive, definitely on the shorter end of things.
So for someone who's never gone through this process, what's a more typical timeline?
Well, it starts with the notice period, which, like we said, can be anywhere from 3 to 60 days.
Right. Depends on the type of notice.
Then you file the lawsuit with the court. That takes a little bit of time.
And then what? Do you go straight to court?
Not always. Sometimes the tenant doesn't respond to the lawsuit at all.
What happens then?
Then you can get what's called a default judgment in your favor.
Default judgment meaning?
Meaning the court rules in your favor because the other party didn't show up to defend themselves.
Oh, so they basically forfeit by not responding.
You got it. But sometimes the tenant does fight the eviction, and then you're looking at a trial.
And trials can drag on, right?
They definitely can, which means more time and more lost rent.
This is where having expert legal help really seems worth it.
Absolutely. Navigating those legal waters is tricky.
Yeah, the Martinez Law Center, they got that 6-week eviction. They must have some secret sauce.
Well, they talked about their experience being familiar with the Southern California market.
So they know how things work around here.
Exactly. They know the local courts, the procedures, even the judges.
They know which judges are stricter, which courtrooms move faster, things like that.
Yep. all the little nuances that can make a difference.
They also mentioned being super organized with the paperwork and anticipating the tenant's arguments. So they're always one step ahead.
Exactly. They have a plan, a strategy. That's probably how they get that 98% success rate.
Makes you think that landlord, in their case study, maybe they could have avoided months of headache if they'd gone to the Martinez Law Center sooner.
That's a good point. Sometimes people wait until it's a total crisis.
And by then, it's harder to fix.
Exactly. Being proactive is key, especially in these situations.
So whether you're a seasoned landlord or just starting out, this whole unlawful detainer process is something you got to understand.
Absolutely. It's not something you can just wing. The laws are there for a reason.
And having expert legal guidance can save you a lot of stress and money in the long run.
Couldn't agree more. Knowledge and preparation, those are your best friends in the world of real estate law.
And who knows, maybe you'll even get a 6-week eviction too.
Fingers crossed, right? But in all seriousness, knowing your rights and the process is crucial.
Well said. And on that note, folks, if you're dealing with a tricky tenant situation, don't wait. Get some legal advice.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
And hey, maybe give Martinez Law Center a call. Those folks seem to know their stuff.
Worth the shot, right?
All right, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.
See you then.
Call now 714-442-9741. Thank you.